Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We have bellied up to the bar, and I was just talking about this. If you haven't figured it out yet, we are in one of our military holes where everybody's been prior service, worked. So we brought with us, listen, I think I do good things for other service members and say nice things and try to point them in right direction. And then sometime in your life, you meet somebody who's like, that's cute what you're doing. Let me show you how to really do this. And those of you who haven't figured it out yet, the whole budget blinds, that's mine. I own two budget blinds in this area. That's when you hear those. And we wanted to support veterans. We wanted to take care of our own back in October. And instead of following, what everybody else does, here's Susan G. Komen, and they're all great organizations. I wanted to focus on veterans. I wanted to focus on female veterans. So another friend of ours who has been on the show before said, well, you got to talk to Melissa Washington. You got to meet this lady. She's absolutely amazing. She is a rock star. So I said, well, what branch of service was she in? They told me Navy. And I was like, well, I guess I'll talk to her anyway. I'll accept that fact. So I met Melissa. We had a great conversation. And afterwards I said, well, I got to get you on the show. So joining us all the way from the left coast, hopefully she doesn't have to bring out a rowboat or anything like that with all the weird storms and everything that they've got going on here. But joining us is the founder, CEO, and El Jefe of Women Veterans Alliance, Miss Melissa A. Washington.
Ooh, thank you, Sean.
Look at that. See, I was just trying to hold up to your image. I mean, you're kind of a badass, Melissa.
Thank you.
Just a little bit. So before we get too far into talking about what Melissa's got going on, talking about Women's Veterans Alliance, we got a little bit of house cleaning to do, starting with our big board over my right shoulder, sticker and a cause. We got a couple of stickers to talk about today. If you've got something you're supporting, maybe you've got an organization where you're helping out folks, you've got stickers for that, you've got a band, you've got a podcast, I don't care what it is. You can reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, Instagram, TikTok. Even our email is theabovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out. Let me know what you got going on. I'll go ahead and read about your stuff live on the air. And the two we got, both of them are prior guests of ours. First one is Chris Hedberg. If you don't know who Chris is a look at this. We're going to stay with prior service. Chris is a prior service Navy petty officer who won Forged in Fire, which is the show where everybody like makes weapons and they have to recreate all these different things. I actually have here at the house, I can't reach the one. He made me a dragon bottle opener that's hand forged. It has scales on it. We gave out bottle openers to some of my sons for Christmas. So he sent us out one of his stickers, heavy hitter. You can find him on Instagram and you can find him on Facebook. It's Christopher E. Hedberg. If you're looking for anything to be forged, I just got this from him today. It's a box opener. I don't care what nobody has to say. It's a box opener. See that? It's got a curve. I can cut open the box. It's safe on the backside so you don't hurt yourself. This is how this works. See, it identifies as a box opener. That's what I'm going to say, and that's how I'm going with it. Don't make faces at me, Melissa. That's what it is. And then those of you that knew Heather Burt, Heather was on. She's a prior Marine, now in the Air National. Here's one for you, Melissa. You ready for a good one?
Go ahead.
She went from being a MP in the Marine Corps to the Air Force's version of an RP, religious practitioner. They're the Air Guard version of an RP. Tell me that's not a move. That is a move and a half. When she sent this out, a couple of stickers. She's got Yield 2, the number 2, Evolve. She's got her book. Make sure you check out what she's got going on. She sent a hat. Her mom sent me a koozie for around a beer bottle. It's so cool. It actually looks like an LBV load bearing vest. And she sent us some other stickers, a Calvin and Hobbes sticker that says "Fly with your friends," and then kind of a play on words for the service of the ride share service Lyft. It says airlift, less ride, and it's a C-130 on there. So some really cool stuff. So make sure you go check out what they've got going on. You know how this is how it works, folks. You got to support those that support you. Other thing we got going on here is, hey, I've already mentioned them. It's budget blinds. If you're in the capital region and you know budget blinds of East Greenbush or budget blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, New York, I can already see that right behind Melissa. If you know me, I can always pick out my window treatment. She has plantation shutters behind her. And plantation shutters, if you didn't know it, folks, are the only window treatments that you can add to your home that are actually a capital improvement. They actually improve the value of your home by adding those. So if you're interested in something like that and you're in the capital region, make sure you reach out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush or Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, New York, and let them know that you're there to belly up to the bar. Now, there's a couple of you that are watching right now. If you're finding me through Melissa or Melissa through me, do us a big favor. Make sure you're asking questions today and make sure you share this to every site that you have access to. That's how everybody's word gets out. That's how everybody finds out about what's going on. All right. All the house cleaning's done, Melissa. How are you?
All right.
It was a mouthful today.
No, that's great. No. So I learned something. I learned, about different types of box openers.
Yeah, see, I mean, it's very safe. It has a finger hole in the bottom so that you don't lose your grip on it. It's curved so it doesn't hurt you. See? And my son told me wasn't a box opener. I said, son, he was in the Coast Guard though, so he doesn't know.
That's okay. Yeah.
He was a puddle pirate. They can't help him. So let's see if I can get some things right today.
Okay.
So Melissa, so you're the founder of Women's Veterans Alliance.
Yes.
Let's see. You were prior service Navy.
Yes.
You're award-winning advocate, speaker, author, entrepreneur.
Yes.
Let's see. Also, I know this because we talked about it. And it's not just helping service members transition out of the service. You also help women's businesses with loans and grants and that type of stuff. Am I hitting all the key things so far?
You're hitting all of them.
So,
yes.
But now, and your husband's prior service, if I remember right from our conversation.
He's a retired Marine. Yes.
And we never retire. We just don't fit in our uniforms anymore.
That is true. I'm glad he's not listening. Yes, that is true.
He would just go, I could still get it. You would end up leaving, and the tricolors in them camis would be one color because we just stretch all of it out completely. It happens.
Well, he could probably get into the dress with the jacket, but I don't know if the belt will go around.
I couldn't imagine if I tried to put that jacket on. I'd be like, see, I've been working out too much for the jacket to fit. That's what it is. So, but you've been doing this. How long have you been involved in start with Women's Veterans Alliance? When did you start that?
2015.
Okay. And what was kind of, there's, and I've talked to some other folks about this. I don't remember if you and I discussed it or not, but there's a lot of veteran service organizations. Are you considered as a VSO, veteran service organization?
No, but some people want to have us considered as a VSO. I don't see us as a traditional VSO. No.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, the traditional, like the VSOs, legacy groups like the VFW, American Legion, then you have veteran service organizations. So I feel we have our own category. Yes, we do serve women, but I feel we do it a little bit differently.
And how do you guys do it differently?
Yes, and excuse him, he's going to keep coming up
That's
and
all
down.
right.
So
my corgi learned how to go down the steps today. He's he's a year and a half old, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to figure out how to go down the steps today, Dad." And as soon as he got down, he peed on the carpet.
Oh, okay. Did he get it back? Did he come back up?
Oh yeah, he has no problem. He never had a problem going up the stairs. It's with the little stumpy legs. His legs can't be but about 4 inches tall. It was going down the steps. He's like, this is sketchy, Dad. This is a little sketchy. So, but what kind of pushed you to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do?
Yes. So let's talk about that. So in 2014, I was looking for opportunity to network with other women in a professional setting. I wasn't interested in the traditional veterans group. I didn't need an MST support group. That's not. So I said,
What's an MST support group?
Military sexual trauma.
Okay.
Support group. So I couldn't find one. I did look around because I don't want to create something if it's already there. So in January 2015, I got about 20 women together at the local El Torritos in Sacramento. And what started as a third Thursday of the month meetup evolved into Women Veterans Alliance, where we help, women financially, economically, socially, mentally, now nationwide. That's where it started. And I always like to think back to that day or that evening that we had. So, we're at this Mexican restaurant, El Torritos, which is no longer there anymore. But, the restaurant had this big long table. And so we're in this, this area, and all the women are gathered around. And most of the women didn't know each other prior to. We had enlisted, we had officers, all the different branches. And we're just going around, everyone's, shooting the shit. We're laughing. Some women, it's crying. It's just one of those things.
Right.
We could have closed that restaurant down. Seriously, it was that, the meaning of it and what women needed was amazing. And that's why we agreed, okay, let's meet the third Thursday. So the next month we met. Guess what? It continued to get more. There was more women, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is no longer a hobby. This is serious. I mean, there is such a need for women to connect, and looking at how underserved and unrecognized we are in the community. And, and I've had women come up, even the first, second, third meeting. She said, I thought I was the only veteran in Sacramento. And I thought she was serious, but she truly felt like she was the only one here. So to have that. So yeah, we would go each month to find a different restaurant, have a speaker. And then it's like, oh, now I need to create a name. Now I need to get a Facebook page. Now I need to do a website. It's like, oh my gosh, now I need to do all these things. And how serious is this? Is this going to be a community group? It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to turn this into a business and then go through that whole, that whole process of going through everything. And I jumped in. I was in the deep end. But in the deep end good because I could swim.
Right.
But it wasn't like I said, okay, I'm going to put this business plan. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. No, this was my purpose. This is everything that I've done in my past from, all the jobs and other things I've had. For me to be here, this is giving me the opportunity to be successful because of all the things that I've, connections I have and people, and to do what I love to do. I mean, to be able to talk, to sit here and talk and not just share my story. I like to be, it's about all of the other women veterans, not just me and, what I did in the military and that. It's about how we can make sure that we are recognized, and also too that women that identify themselves as veterans. We're still working through that.
What do you mean, women that identify themselves as veterans?
So women don't identify. So there are still women who do not consider themselves veterans.
Why not?
Because they feel that they weren't in combat. They didn't go overseas. They served during peacetime. They just did 2 or 3 years. It's one of those things. It's like, one of them she said, I just went in to pay for my schooling, my nursing. That's all I went in for. So I'm not a veteran.
She didn't consider that was weird. Like, I guess, but I guess, you know what? I've known male veterans that are the same way. They're like, I had a buddy when he retired probably about 5 or 6 years before me. And I was like, hey, man, make sure you get all your benefits over the VA. He's like, I'm not going and getting no benefits. I didn't lose any limbs. I didn't do these things. I'm like, bro, we did 20 years on 20 years in the Marine Corps. I did 12 on recruiting duty. You did more than you did 15. Like, our parents were our insurgents. And he's like, no, I'm not doing it. Years later, he wised up. But so all this is going on. Were you working at the time? Did you have a job,
Yes.
a career already?
I did have a career. Actually, just that year prior, I launched my first book called Get Back to Work. So I was already going, going to different places to sell the book and like a little book tour. And then I also had my own business where I would go to events, conferences, or companies and talk about LinkedIn. So that was some of my background was that's what I was doing. So I'm doing this, this is the road I'm going down with my business. And then this came, and then it's just kind of just, like I said, I was full on in, but then also too, creating this is like, how do we create revenue so this can be I can sustain this
Right.
to do what needs to be done. And it's one of those, just like any other entrepreneur, small business owner, I didn't want to take out a loan. I mean, I did refinance my house because I knew this is where I was supposed to be, to have that. And, when we had to make a small sacrifice in the beginning, but I mean, we're still here because, most businesses, 3 to 5 years, if they're that long. So even after 8 years, it's sustainable, but, I got my hands in doing other things too. I got to have additional streams of income.
Well, I can definitely see that. So here you are, you kind of started this, and I don't mean this out in a mean way, but you started it for a selfish reason. You were like, hey, I need these connections back. I lost this. I need this. And I don't need, you're going to have to correct me on the language I'm about to use because I can't think of another word. You didn't want something where you felt like somebody was going to feel pity for you. You wanted something that was going to empower you and empower other women who were leaving the services. Am I hitting it right?
Absolutely. We're not a charity. And I mean, I just, and that's something too. They're veteran, nonprofits that are charities, but I don't want veterans. We're veterans. We're not charity.
Thank you so much for saying that. It absolutely drives me nuts when people make us to feel like we're some kind of a charity case, and the constant, like, I don't like being felt like I've been wheeled out for your political purposes. Like, that really pisses me off beyond belief. So I get you. So as this is building, as this is growing, you're realizing that this is an animal with a life of its own out there. What was some of the reaction? Like, I mean, was your husband still on active duty at the time?
No, he had already retired. He is
retired.
He's on his second retirement, the federal government. Yes.
You gotta love it. I'm all about it. I thought I was going to do that with the railroad. And then I was like, let me get rid of this opportunity to retire at 62. I don't want that. I'm going to start my own business.
There you go.
I'm going to punish myself. Watch this. But so what was his reaction though? Was there any apprehension on his part? Like, yeah, babe, that sounds great, but
well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's one of those things because we're a 2-income house. I mean, that's the way we are. So for me, to have to pull back on some on the income, that was an issue. But then to see, okay, here's the growth. But one of the things too, to go back to our benefits, is I was one of those that didn't utilize. I didn't file for my disability rating because, again, I was one didn't feel like that. My dad's a Vietnam vet. My husband, vet. Come on, Melissa, we got to go to the VA, because my dad goes to the VA all the time for, his healthcare. You're like, okay, you can come with me and we could start your claim. I'm like, so if I'm going to preach it, I better practice it. 100%. So I did. I started my claim. I went through that whole process, and I understand, the process, because I think it's so important. Because if I'm saying, hey, you know what, utilize your home loan benefits or utilize your GI Bill. I've used all those. I mean, I go to Home Depot and I get my discount. I have veteran on my driver's license. I mean, I have my disabled veteran license plates in California. I mean, but we have all these things because also too, if you're going to lead others, you got to show them. I mean, I want to say, it's like, hey, you know what, these things are possible to have. But of course, as we know, you've got to do it. And that's the thing too, is as we know, civilians think, oh, we've got it all.
I love that.
Right. The VA, oh, your guys don't have your medical. I mean, shit. Even my husband retired as a military. We still pay for TRICARE. It's not like, when when I,
$155 a month I put out.
but it's great compared to,
Right, but I pay for it.
right? So, but wasn't that one of the things when we joined the military? I mean, I joined in 1991.
Okay.
It was like, oh, stay in 20 years and you have, free retirement. I
Yep.
mean, there is no such thing as that. I mean, we have our co-pays. We have to pay for the prescription for that.
We have a good plan.
Yes,
I,
but we
I
should have a $0 plan.
Well, that was you'll laugh at me. So I can still remember when I retired in 14. So I went in 94 and retired in 14. And the first time the folks at the pediatrician for my kids were like, okay, that'll be $12. I was like, for what? And she was like, your copay. I'm like, I got no copay. TRICARE. She was like, and I, looking back, I was like, oh, I'm a dickhead. Because she was like, are you still on active duty? I'm like, no, I'm retired. She's like, yeah, and now that same copay that was 12 in 14. And I know some people are like, well, dude, shit. Well, guess what? Nobody kept you from the recruiting office. It wasn't locked up. They didn't say, aha, not you. You could have walked in there too. The few of you that like, hey, I wasn't physically or whatever qualified. Look, didn't nobody keep you from going? You could have got the same thing. But that was a big eye opener for me. But as far as the benefits, I'm going to give you a line, Melissa. This is for you.
All right.
Anytime you run into a vet who doesn't want to go get their benefits, you know what you tell them?
What's that?
Ask them, say, well, I'll give you my bank account number so you can just go ahead and shift some money into my account, because obviously you have more than you could ever need. And those benefits don't matter to you. So can you just give it to me? And see the face you're making right now? They're like, I mean, come on, man. I'm like, what? And it's so you can do it all online now.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the app. So I had to submit some other stuff for another claim, but you could go on the VA app. It's fantastic. I can look my claim status. I can show you, I mean, everything's on there. I don't have to log into back to ID.me and all that stuff. But again, these are things, if we're not doing it, how can we share that with others there on those, the different benefits. And I'll share a story with about a Vietnam vet, because some of those guys are like, no, I can't, it's like, I can't take away from, and this guy was in Navy, his blue water veteran, he was in Vietnam. And I kept saying, every time I'd see him, it took almost 2 years, because I said, every time I see you, I'm going to ask you. So then I get a text from him. It was around Thanksgiving one year. And he said, thank you so much. I got my claim and my wife can retire. Right? I mean, I get emotional just thinking about it.
You get cheers for that.
Seriously. But he's, 70, early 70s or whatever, but that was life-changing for him just a few years ago. But had he done that before?
Right.
But still, those are the things we have to share it in a way that people understand. And even especially with women veterans, talking to women veterans, we can share things with each other that are more easy to understand, because that's why I love what I do. I have like these meetups when I travel. I put a word out and say, hey, you know what? We're having a meetup here, wherever it is, 6 o'clock. So then now you get women around a table, again, going back to what I started of, we're eating, having drinks, and then we're going around introducing ourselves, and like, oh, I don't want my benefits. But then you get your sister next to you talking about stuff. And then, right, then things start to change. It's like, oh, okay. But we have so much to do. And with that, it's not all about VA healthcare. And I know the VA, that's their focus. It's like, okay, we got to get women in healthcare. Yes, right. We do. But there's so many other things our women and our men have out there that they can utilize. Not just, they have, your veteran benefits, and then you have your veteran healthcare of that. And that's why I like to share, different things. And, business ownership. There's benefits to being a veteran, whether it's, no business, like I don't have to pay a business license fee.
Yeah.
Veteran. But had I not checked that box, then I'd be paying the veteran fee. So if I didn't identify as a veteran, I think, oh, I don't think I qualify for that. So I'm gonna not check that box and pay. So these are just, I mean, so many little things that people don't think about and how they add up. And each state has different benefits. California, unfortunately, we're still one of the only few states that still tax retirement pay, which,
Oh, do they really?
yeah. So we keep trying to get the legislation that went through last year got further than it did before. So that way, my husband, his retirement's taxed.
Wow.
So,
I don't get my retirement taxed in New York. I mean, we're talking, I'm in New York and my retirement's not taxed.
yeah.
I will actually tell you, for as odd as it might sound, as New York being what we, most people are like, oh, this is a far left liberal, blah, 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 blah. They are a super vet friendly state. We are hugely, I mean, because at one point in time, there was multiple bases here. And now I think we're down to two, which is Watertown and the docks, the Navy Yard, the Brooklyn Navy Yard. But yeah, I mean, and I'm listening to things you're saying, and it's the one thing. And folks, look, if you're looking for what Melissa's got on, you just simply Google Women Veterans Alliance. It's going to pop up. There's a million things. She's on LinkedIn. She's on Facebook, all these different organizations. She's done an amazing job of putting this out there so people can very easily find her and find what she's got going on. I can't say enough. And you kind of touched on this, and I'm going to, as a male Marine or as a male veteran, I know sometimes this is taboo for us to discuss, and we're not supposed to be the ones that talk about it. But you kind of touched on it with the military sexual trauma piece. I know a lot of female Marines. I put a lot of female Marines in the Marine Corps, and I didn't know or understand what that meant. The when you guys talk about, well, this happened to me, till a young lady I put in the Marine Corps called me. She's a private PFC. I'm a gunny nowhere near her. And she's like, I need you. I need your help. And I'm like, what's going on? And she told me, and it wasn't a male Marine that did it. It was a female Marine that had done it. And it wasn't like, hey, get this person away from them. They need to be removed. They left the predator there in the unit to harass her until finally they were like, oh, this is real. I mean, what's, I don't even know if is it services that they offer. And folks, if you're listening to us and you're finding us, please share, please ask some questions. But do you have anything like that? Or is that, because you mentioned there are other organizations that focus on that, is that anything that you still focus on? Or do you kind of say, hey, let's send you to a service, this is what they do?
Absolutely. So with MST, there's other organizations, whether it's SWAN, Service Women's Action Network, the Pink Berets. I mean, there are organizations out there that a lot of that's what their primary focus is, and others. So, and that's why it's important too what we do as well. So, great example. I'm talking to a woman. We're doing a little bit of coaching. She's like, I got this great business idea, and then we start talking about our military service and everything that she did. And then she just like pauses. And she's like, oh my God, she had suppressed stuff years and years and years ago that happened to her in the military. So,
What do you mean?
Military sexual trauma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I find that too with others, but it was just one of those things, we're just talking about it, and she's like, so it's like, okay, well, here are some different resources, whether you want to go to the VA or the vet center, or other resources or other women organizations, so you can be able to talk to someone. Because I'm not, we can talk about it, but I'm not I'm not a therapist. I'm not licensed. I don't want to give you the wrong advice, but I do want to give you a warm handoff. And here are some people and organizations that can help you work through that.
Now, for you, I know everything's out on the left coast. All the hippies out there on the left coast and everything. But is there, like, for your network, are there any other, like, oh, hey, we have somebody out in New York, we have somebody in Florida, that if somebody was like, hey, I'd like to talk to somebody from Women's Veterans Alliance, or have a round table like you were discussing? Are there any other groups like that?
Yes, there are. So even though I'm physically here in California, we serve women globally, and I'll talk about how we now serve women globally in a second. But absolutely, on our website, we have what's our allies directory. These are organizations that predominantly serve women throughout the U.S. And they're everything from if they just had a Facebook group to a community group to a full-blown on nonprofit. You can go and you can search that page, our directory, and you can find other organizations. But if you're looking for that one-on-one, definitely, because we do have members. We currently have over 400 paid members, and definitely make that connection, however that connection is. And I do that all the time because a lot of people reach out to me, whether email or through the chat on our website, and they're looking for specific things, whether it's veterans or just others that may want to. Well, great example, another that want to do business with women veterans. Like, hey, so I started the only online directory for women veteran-owned businesses, so people could come to our site and you can search our directory for women veteran-owned businesses, and we're continuing to grow that year over year. So it's creating these different directories in the hub, to be that connector for all of that.
That's pretty. Now, I mean, I got to ask, do you break it down like here's Army-owned, Marine-owned businesses,
Yep.
Navy? Do you really break it? Oh, I was kidding about that. So you break it down because I'm
Absolutely.
only looking to deal with Marine-owned female businesses. And I'm kidding completely, because I used to tell the young ladies when they would join the Marine Corps, and they'd be like, I don't know if I'm tough enough. I don't know what people are going to say. I'm like, look, no one's going to talk shit to you when they realize that you can hit them at 500 yards with open sights. And they'd be like, what? And I would explain it to them what going to the range was like, and they'd be like, really? I can do it. I'm like, yes, you can do that too. And I think, and look, folks, as you're listening to us and we're talking about some of the things that go on, please don't be like, well, I would never let my child or my sister or my brother or anyone join the service because these things are going on. Understand that, and I want to get Melissa's opinion on this. The way it was once explained to me that was so eye-opening is the military is a microscope version
Microcosm.
right
Yes.
of the US, where you have things that might happen in Chicago, in California, in Alabama, in Baltimore, in Maine, but they're all across the country. In the service, all those people are in the same location together. So instead of having whatever it is, 345 million people, and it's happening in small places, the Marine Corps is like 188,000. The Army's like 1 million. The Navy's like 1 million. The Air Force is like 800,000 or whatever the numbers are. I don't remember anymore. But it's happening on that microcosm level. So it ends up looking bigger than what it is on a U.S. scale. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I mean, if you look at, the diversity, I mean, even just with women, even compared to our male counterparts, we're definitely more diverse when we look at ethnicity. But I feel that's one of the things too, we talk about attributes, other things that we've learned in the military. I mean, you've learned to work with people who aren't from, like I said, they aren't from where you're from.
No.
And where else in the world would you be able to have that opportunity to be able to work with others? And that's one of those things too, whether you're having the barbecue, whether you're on base housing or wherever, right, different ethnic groups are bringing their food, so it's like, okay, so you have this spread of whether it's lumpia or tamales or whatever, it's.
Do you remember the first time like somebody's wife was from the Philippines? Because it's always some dude's wife is from the Philippines, and that aluminum tray of lumpia showed up, and you're like, oh, it's spring rolls. And somebody's like, no, that's lumpia. And you're like, I don't know what that is. And about 3 drinks in, I'm hoarding the entire thing like this, right, arms around it. Oh, I love lumpia.
And and if they could bring some pancit with it too, it's good. So when I was SK, so I worked with a lot of Filipinos there, so it was fun times.
Yeah, I mean but you know what? It's funny. I saw a meme the other day that was so true. It was like all these individual cutout pictures, and it said your military group or your, and it was like one was very preppy, one looked like an athlete, one was in like baggy jeans and looked like, I mean, everybody looked different. And I thought about it, I was like, if you were to see the three guys that I hung out with the most in my early career, I was from East Baltimore. Bobby Ray Willis would tell you he was a gangbanger from Jackson, Mississippi, and Troy Arndt was as white bread cross country from all the way up in doggone Madison, Wisconsin. And the three of us hung out thick as thieves. I mean, it was just, the service does that for you. With some of the groups that you're bringing together and helping these folks to connect, what has been the biggest challenge in just that communication piece, or getting female service members to say, hey, maybe I do need this assistance, or maybe I should do these things? What's been the biggest challenge?
I think, well, one of the biggest challenges, it's the way we market.
What do you mean?
The way we market Women Veterans Alliance, because like when we first started, people were putting us into what they wanted it to be. So it's not, no, this, so our primary focus is professional. And then there's all these other things too that we can help get connected to. So it's getting past that, because, oh, you're a women veterans group. You help with homeless, you help with MST, you help with PTS. That's not our thing. Is hopefully we're helping to prevent homelessness, because we're giving her resources, we're helping her with VA benefits, we're helping her with job, we're helping with her all these things that can help that. Because again, that's the thing, it's like, oh, you're a women veterans group here, and there are great groups that do things, but a lot of times, again, we get put in that charity bucket, and a couple of times a month at least, I'll get a call where someone wants to donate their grandma's clothes or their mother's clothes because she just died, and they would love to give it for women veterans. And I say no. To me, that's very degrading. I mean, that just diminishes what the sacrifice that we made, that you want to give me someone's old clothes to give to women veterans, or you want to, and then these are things that happen. You want to give me the toiletries that you've collected at hotels for women veterans. Okay.
Yeah, that's a weird one to me. I'm with you.
It's like, okay, but yeah, I mean, granted, okay, if you have stand down or you're collecting things, but don't automatically. I'd rather you say, hey, you know what? We've got, $500 gift cards from Macy's. I want to bless a woman veteran today. That's the call I want to get. I want people to think of women veterans and help elevate us, not, look at us with pity or charity.
I get exactly what you mean. And that kind of rolls into my next question. And don't take this in a bad way, but why do we need you? Like, I mean, honestly and truthfully, and I don't mean that in a mean way. Yeah. We talk about, like, hey, we have a VA, we have a service organization. It's been around for a long time but why do we need wounded warriors? Why do we need still serving vets? Why do we need Women's Veterans Alliance? Why do we need these if we've got what the heck's our budget? Almost $1 trillion for it. I mean, it's got to be somewhere close to that. But why do we need all these outside groups to help veterans?
Well, one, it's, if you're talking about the Veterans Administration is not equipped to handle that. That's why there's number one. That's why there's their need for all these other organizations, whether it's mine or Wounded Warrior Project or organizations that provide service dogs, because the VA is not. That's not their mission to do that. And of course, as we know, they're a government entity. They're a federal, agency. And for them to make any changes, you got to get congressional approval. So they have restraints, right? That's with anybody who works for government. So if they can be smart about it. And when I first started, the VA locally, it took a while to get a relationship with them, like a reciprocal. It's like, oh no, we can't have you here. We can't do these things.
Oh yeah.
It's gotten better because you have to look at the community. You need the VA, you need private companies, you need individuals, you need community groups, you need VSOs to be able to serve our veteran community. And if you don't have those, then what happens? I mean, it wouldn't be good.
Right.
And that's why we can't depend upon the VA. And also, too, as we look at our women veteran population, our population is increasing year over year. Is the VA equipped right now if I need to go get a pap smear and a mammogram? They might have to have me go out to community care. They could. Or does my VA have a full up and running women's health clinic, which they should, because that was part of the Deborah Sampson Act. But see, there's all these things. And that's why the VA has to go to community care, because they can't help with that. So that's why there is a need. They need people that can speak freely and that can have, whether you call it, have unrestricted funds to be able to do things and make shit happen. I mean, I love what I get to do, because I don't have to get approval from somebody or wait for someone to say, oh, before I make a change in a sentence. I'm like, no, I'm going to say it and it's going to happen. It's shit. I'll stay up tonight and make sure it happens. So tomorrow morning that's happening. But that's what we need. We need people to make things happen, but still understand that we're all in this ecosystem together and we need to help each other. And we also need all our civilian counterparts to help, because, we're veterans, a very small percentage. We need those other people financially, right? It's like, why should, and I have, so I have Women Veterans Alliance and I have Women Veterans Giving, which is a nonprofit that I started. Why should those funds be always donations from women veterans? We need to, other people, right, need to bring those monies into not just my organization, but other organizations, because one, we made that sacrifice. And if, and I'm not even drinking, so I could, just think if I had a couple in me,
I mean,
yeah,
we could get you a bottle of New Scotland spirits.
Hey, there we go.
I mean,
there we go. But it's like, and it goes back to the whole thing of, and I'm sure there's people listening like, oh, she's full of it or whatever. But I live this every day. That's my job, is veterans, myself, not just my family, but talking to veterans all day and learning more. But, it's great when you say thank you for your service on Veterans Day, but you got to do a little bit more, and that free bloomin' onion at Outback. I mean, that's great if you like the bloomin' onion.
Oh, don't forget about Golden Corral. Have you ever gone to Golden Corral on Veterans Day?
I have not, but I'll tell you, I could tell you women veterans who have gone, who've been carded. They didn't card the guys in the front, but they asked for their IDs. Oh yeah, that happened. Yes. Oh, that was not good, because again, the assumption, right, that's the old guy with that. But how else? And I think too is, maybe our communities just don't know how they can help veterans. That's like, and that's what we have to do too. And that's why I love when I get to go and speak, whether it's the Rotary group or other organizations that are, predominantly civilians, or, to share with them, okay, these are things that you can do to be able to help our veterans, hire our veterans, help our, veterans, anything. It's time or money, right? That's regardless of how you would do, whether the time to connect somebody with somebody else, or you have the funds to be able to help with that. So granted, we're not at war. So also too, and veterans groups have said this too, is you're starting to see a decline in like donations and other things,
right?
Because guess what, with us not being at war, it's like, oh, okay, the veterans,
right.
it's not top of mind to be able to do that. Granted, they'll wave their flags on 4th of July, Memorial Day, and this other stuff. But so that means these groups have to work even harder in other ways to find funds to continue, because people are still getting out of the military. People are still going in, even though there's, recruiting challenges, but that's not, but
that's a whole nother animal. Yeah.
Yes. So there's still the population, like with women veterans, we're 2 million of us, and that's, increasing year over year. So we have to, how do we continue to help them? And that's why I feel it's important for me to do what I do, so I can help educate other people.
I love what you got going on. And folks, we're getting ready. We're about almost time to close the bar here soon. And again, if you're finding me through Melissa or Melissa through me, make sure you're giving this a like, giving this a share, giving this a follow. It might sound cliche, but that's how this message gets out. That's how her message gets out. And make sure you're checking out Women Veterans Alliance. Now, you mentioned something that I'm weird about, because I never know the right way to answer it. And maybe we'll bring it up, and I bring it up to a lot of veterans, is when people go, "Thank you for your service." And I'm always like, "Thank you. You're welcome." Like, do you ever feel uncomfortable when people say, "Thank you for your service"? Like,
Well, yeah. Let me tell you, Sean, that you probably
this
get a
is
lot more than
cliche.
I do. You get a lot more than I do.
Well, I put it out there a lot. I'm like, I have no problem in putting it out there, but you've already said, like, some women veterans, they don't like to put it out there the same way. But it almost feels like cliche sometimes to me, because people don't know how to react to us as veterans and what to say, other than somebody said, "Well, make sure you thank them for their service."
Yeah.
And it was a very post Gulf War, coming home, then 9/11. But is there, like, how do you feel about that? Does it feel cliche to you when people say that? Or do you kind of like, no, okay, I'm good with this? And I got to follow up for why I'm asking that.
Yes. To me, it's my opportunity to educate, and if I'm able to take that further with them, because I'm great example. My husband and I, he looks like a Marine, or a soldier, but heaven forbid someone call him a soldier. Then but I can have veteran, and I have shirts that say veteran on the back of this shirt. It has veteran on there. They'll bypass me and go to him.
Like it was his shirt.
Yes. So
you're wearing your shirt right now, right?
he wouldn't have, in the time that he had it on, he had the SM.
Oh, I know the shirt.
SFMF.
Yes.
Great. So he had that shirt on. So
yep, the 75 motherfucker shirt.
Yes. Who's going to know what that is
right.
with that? But I always have something on that says I'm a veteran. Like, I have a Lady Veteran necklace. I'll have a hat. I'll have or shirt, or I have a pin. I do it not because I'm looking for it. Thank you for your service. I'm looking at it because I hope I find other women.
Okay. So it's kind of your billboard.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a walking billboard. When I'm walking, and I travel a lot, when I'm walking through that airport or getting on that plane, you're absolutely right. I've got something on that shows I served in the military, because I want to find someone.
And the reason I asked that question is I think people don't, like, they want to do something to say, hey, look, it's like that bumper sticker. If you can read this, thank a teacher. If you can read this in English, thank a vet. I love that bumper sticker. But they don't know how to thank us, what to do, and how to get into those things, because so they think, well, I'm just going to say this. What, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and reach out to Women Veterans Alliance, and again, folks, just Google it. It pops right up. It go on the LinkedIn and Facebook. It'll pop up. How could somebody donate to you, or don't send, look, folks, don't send her grandma's old clothes. That's not going to work. That's not what we're talking about here. But how could somebody reach out to you, or what would be the right way to support a female veteran, in your opinion?
Different ways. I mean, one, of course, the nonprofit, we're always accepting donations, but we have the chat. If you go onto our website, just send us a chat, or send us a contact us, because you want to, learn more on how you can help, because there's so many different ways that people can help. But I do want to put a quick plug out, because we're getting ready to launch Women Veterans Pennsylvania magazine. That'll be out before June 12th, which is Women Veterans Recognition Day. And Friday is the deadline for any articles or photos or advertising. So if anyone's on here, if you're from Pennsylvania, stationed in Pennsylvania, submit articles, submit your photo, because on the cover, we have all of women veterans in uniform and out of uniform on our cover. So we are looking for those.
Where is Pacheco right now? I put so many female, that's where I recruited out of, was Pennsylvania.
Well, there you go. You got to, hey,
you'll have to send me a link. I'll make sure. I have to look through. I have like way too many people on Facebook, but I'll look through my Facebook. One of the Marines I put in Pacheco was a true, the Lioness group.
Yes.
She is a real lioness, not. And I sent her the link to that TV show that was out for
Oh,
a little
yeah.
bit, the Lioness TV show. She was like, "Look,
Yeah.
I wish I." Oh, we froze. Did I lose you?
Yep, you're still there.
Okay. She was like, "I wish I got to shower and put makeup and do all those things." She's like, and she told me they would be with the male Marines. The male Marines would leave a village and they would be there to talk to the female villagers. And as soon as the males left, that's when those punk ass Taliban, the Vagines that they are, would be like, "Oh, it's nothing but women there. We'll attack now." And then not realizing, well, hey, asshole, this is a bunch of female Marines, and they would repel them. And she's like, that happened all the time. But she's right there in PA. I'm trying to think of some of the other. I don't have a lot of other contacts. I have to think about who else is out there. But yeah,
please, we gotta,
that's so cool.
Get that out there.
Now, is that your magazine or is
yes,
that?
It is. No,
now, why Pennsylvania?
Well, we started. We already launched California and Texas 2 years ago. And you can see, so these are all the pictures. So Pennsylvania will be like the outline of Pennsylvania and all the photos in there. So the reason it's Pennsylvania is we need to have collaborators and partners in those states. And just so happens in Pennsylvania, they said, you know what, we want to bring this. And there's certain criteria you have to have for us to work on it. But it's, I'm the co-publisher. It's me and one other person. She's an Air Force veteran. And this is our publication.
Wait a sec. So the Navy and the Air Force are putting this public. Why can't you get any Marines? Like, come on now.
Yeah.
What's going on here, Melissa?
Well, we only have the two people publishing it, but we have contributors like articles that are written by other people in the publication.
You know who I got to introduce you to as I'm thinking about it? I haven't talked to her in damn near 15 years. Patty Lewis. I got to get you in contact with Patty Lewis. Patty Lewis is an absolute bulldog in Pennsylvania, Blue Star mother who has been helping vets. She would know on the eastern side of the state. She would know everybody. I have to find her information. Okay. I know I got her on LinkedIn. I hope she's still around. I haven't talked to her in a long time, but Patty Lewis. See, this is also what the other thing, folks. You want to talk about a small world. It's a smaller service network where we all get together and this is how it happens. And if you're listening to this and you're going, well, wait a sec. My aunt was a veteran. My cousin was a veteran. My uncle was a veteran and his kids were veteran. Like, listen, folks, this is how we get it. And I know we're talking mainly about female veterans right now, but there's an organization for all of us. There's space for all of us. And listen, it's nothing against the VFW, nothing against the American Legion. We're not talking about social clubs. They are really more social clubs. We are talking about real things. I'll tell you what endeared me to Melissa, and I'm going to tell this story, was when we met, and you'll have to correct me on the number, but you were like, yeah, we just got was it 100,000 for a female business owner, or you had just gotten 100,000 for female veteran business owners like a year ago? What was that? Like, I remember you telling me about it. And
You're talking about for our small business award?
For small business owners. Yeah.
Yes. So we're not 100,000 donated for that, but that's something we're working on for the small business. And let me just bring this up real quick before you do that, because I want to do another plug. Because if we don't say stuff, then
do it. Come on, let's go.
Yes.
This is my show. I can do whatever I want to do. So come on.
All right.
We got all the time we want.
Sounds good. So we had in 2017 we started the Women Veterans Giving Small Business Award. We've given over $20,000 to date to women veterans to start or expand her business. All grassroots. I don't have any corporate sponsors. We just find ways. Starting, it hasn't been announced yet, but later in March, we're going to go to a quarterly. So we're going to give a woman veteran up to $5,000 every quarter for her to start or expand her business.
No shit.
So we feel that way we can help infuse more cash, not just the once a year, but every quarter. So of course, the more, grants or other funding sources we can get can help. But also too, we just don't give her the money. There is assessments that she has, there's coaching, there's, we want to make her stronger. there. And that's one of the things that we do with Women Veterans Giving, is giving that money, not just the money, but other resources. Get her connected to other, other grants or other pitches. Like, hey, did you see this? So that's going to be opening up. So that's why you should get on our email list. Go to Women Veterans Alliance, get on our email list. You don't have to be a member to get our email updates. That way you're in the know of what's happening.
Look, listen, folks, here's what I'm doing right now. You see my phone? I'm going through my phone as Melissa's talking, and I'm thinking, because this is my version of ADD. And if you know any other veterans, this is what we do. We have to do it at that moment, because if I don't do shit as I'm thinking about it, it doesn't exist. It's not real. And I'm passing on. That's as simple as all you got to do is taking this show, pass it on to somebody who hey, you got a business. Look, here's one for you, folks. If you know someone who owns a small business and they make pretty good scratch off of it, one of the things, guess what they're always looking for is places to donate, places to give money to, because I'm going to say it in a very self-centered way. If you're just looking, they need tax write-offs, so they need places. And guess what? Melissa is more than happy to be their tax write-off. I'll say it for her so she doesn't have to sound like she's the one doing it. I'll do it for her. She would be more than happy to be your tax write-off and to help veterans women. She would be more than happy to have not 3 publications of her magazine, but 50 publications of her magazine. Make it 51. We'll add Puerto Rico in there also. There's a lot of female veterans down in Puerto Rico. I served with them. So we'll make it 51 copies of her magazine. Take a moment, go into Women Veterans Alliance. Look, you should do it every month, but if you're just looking for a particular month, this October, when instead of, wearing your pink ribbon, you can wear a pink camouflage ribbon. And then you see that I'm just created that for you, just for you, Melissa. You like that?
Right.
You can wear a pink camouflage ribbon to support women veterans who need your support. Stop being a pig-headed chauvinist who thinks that they can't do it. Look, I got it. In your day, this, in your day, that. Look, I watch female veterans go from a 1.5 mile run to 3 miles in the Marine Corps, from a flexed arm hang to dead hang pull-ups. Guess what? They're doing the same shit that the males are doing. There's no difference anymore. Stop being lazy. Stop being cheap. I don't normally get on my high horse like this, but go help out Melissa. Go see what they've got going on. Go to Women's Veterans Alliance and just, be a good human. Those of you that are popping on over here on Instagram, I thank you so much. Whiskey Rosemary, thanks for popping on there and checking us out. But you know what? Help out these organizations, support them, see what they've got going on. I can't say enough. I love what you're doing, Melissa. I really do. Now I'm going to throw one out there to you.
Okay.
Now, Nate's not here. Nate didn't pop one. I have to correct him when I get a chance. He's normally always here. But if he was here, I know what he would ask you. And This is always an important question that he asks. Right. Did you, in your time, but you were in the Navy, so I don't even know if you ever even had this before. Did you have a go-to MRE?
No, I didn't do MREs.
See,
It was I was on ships. It was Navy PAL. Yeah, I know. But I'll tell you something. I'll tell you about MREs. Some guy who still likes to eat those. He's not here right now, but we have some in our cupboard because every now and then he wants to eat an MRE.
Listen to me. Like, there's nothing wrong, as I like to tell folks, with the 4 fingers of death. That's the Frankfurters and the beef stew. Those are some of my absolute favorites. I love those MREs. They're some of my favorites. They're good stuff. They're good for you. They'll put a little hair on your chest. Now, is it just any of your kids? I don't know if you have kids or not. Any of them looking to go into service? Yay, nay?
Nope, she's not, but she's a huge supporter. She comes with me to do events and works the table and talks to women, and absolutely. So she's helping. She's serving in her way.
She found a way to do her part in the serve. I love it. Look, folks, I'm going to say it. I just got off my high horse, but one more time, make sure you're going to Women's Veterans Alliance. If you're finding me through Melissa or Melissa through me, this is a great organization. I donate to them. Make sure you're taking the time. Make sure you're supporting her. Make sure you're providing to that organization. You're sharing, you're liking this. It really truly does matter, folks. It's hard to explain to you. And coming up, we're staying on the veteran thing, keeping the veteran piece going. Next week on the show, we have from the website, From Military to Millionaire. Maybe we have to get you introduced. I mean, we're talking millionaires here. Oh. From Military to Millionaire, we have David Pierre coming on. David, prior service, has been on a bunch of podcasts, done all kinds of stuff. So he's coming on, or David Joseph Pierre, P-E-R-E. I think it's how you pronounce that, Pierre. That's how I want to pronounce his Pierre. Payre? I don't know. I'm horrible with names. I was never a good gunny in that way. Like Marines would show up and I'd be like, I would just butcher your name. And that was the only time I could get away with it as a gunny, is just to butcher your name. But David's going to be on with me next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you're joining us, checking out that, because that kind of goes hand in hand with what you got going on. Folks, if you didn't know it, at one point in time, a third of the Fortune 500 were Marines. If you didn't know that at one point in time, just in general, as veterans, we've kind of been taught mission-oriented, get shit done. Look at Melissa, mission-oriented, getting shit done. So now, Melissa, don't log off on me. We got one more thing we have to do here before I can let you go. Okay. Now, I know this is episode 225. We talked about it. You binged all 225 of them. You absorbed as much of this as any human could possibly absorb of the Above the Bar podcast. So You know what would be coming up now, which is the guest always gets the final word. So what's our final word tonight, Melissa?
Final word. Check out our conference, April 27th, Women Veterans Engage. It's on our website.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.